Welcome back to another episode of OpenRCT2 tutorials. In this video, I'm going to show you how to operate essentially what I like to call synchronized shuttle mode. So basically it's a single track transportation ride with an open loop, as you can see here, allowing the trams to pass by each other, but it's operating as one ride. So there's a little trickery to get it to work like that. So normally in shuttle mode, as you can see here, you could set something up like this where it's one ride, the trams are going to pass by each other really nicely here like so. And it should operate as you would think, and once it gets to the station, they will reverse. The only problem with this mode is if you force a breakdown, like a ride vehicle malfunction or something, the other train will continue operating while it's waiting for the other one to get fixed. So what happens here is then the ride will get fixed, and the problem is that the trams will collide, because in synchronized station mode, they should be leaving together, but when there's a breakdown, they don't leave at the same time, so this happens. So you think you could change this to a crooked house because those rides don't break down, but it won't allow for a synchronized stations. The same thing goes for the elevator. So if you were to change it to the elevator, it doesn't break down, but you can't synchronize the stations. So we have to find a workaround. So essentially with the miniature railroad, you have the synchronized station, but it's not going to work with these breakdowns in shuttle mode. So what we're going to do is use a block section mode to kind of trick it into looking like it is operating in shuttle mode. So here you can see a little trickery here. The ride vehicles are coming into the station, kind of teleporting a little bit, but it is how we get this to work. So basically I like to call this synchronized shuttle mode because we are actually using the continuous circuit block brake mode with synchronized stations, and I copied and pasted the stations so that they would synchronize with each other even though they're far apart, and we kind of get this trick to look like it should. So to do this yourself, basically I've marked where I want the stations here. We need to turn on some cheats, and we are going to have show all operating modes, allow arbitrary ride type changes, and disable vehicle limits. And then basically I'm going to take the miniature railroad and I'm going to build a station, and let's just do a curved track just because not all of these trams are going to be straight. So I'm going to change this to the trams just for this example, but you can really use any transport ride, I suppose. And I want it to be 3 cars per train. And then here, instead of building the station, I'm actually going to want to build some brakes. So I'm going to change the ride type to something like the Steel Wild Mouse, and it will allow us to add the block brakes. So let's just slow the trams down a little bit. So we can do 18 miles, 13 miles per hour, and then let's add a block brake. And this is going to be at 9 miles per hour, but you can do whatever speed you want. Then we want one straight piece of track. Then we're going to do a tight turnaround like this, and then you need to make sure you have disable clearance checks turned on, and we'll do that turn back on top of itself. And now here we will build the 3-tile station going in the opposite direction. Now if you want to test the ride with the ghost train button, we need to change it to continuous circuit. Every time you build a block brake, it will automatically change it to block brake mode and won't allow you to do the ghost trains. But here, if I build the straight track any further on top of already existing straight track, even though it's going in a different direction, the train is actually going to teleport to the lowest level on the tile inspector. It's going to get messed up, and you're going to see it here if you watch that ghost train as it leaves the station. So here it's stopping at a station. As it continues forward, it's going to then reverse back on to the straight track that I had already built. So we're going to have to delete that, and to get around this, instead of straight track here, we actually need to change the ride type to the dinghy slide. So we will take the dinghy slide track and we will go straight, but we'll change it to enclosed. So the game will recognize this as a different track type. And so then we're gonna finish our circuit here. And now I'm going to change it back because I want to add those brakes and the block brakes. But here we can see the ghost trains just for the example. As you can see here, it's operating how it should. So the ghost trains are correct in how we want it to operate, but I'm going to change it now back to the spinning wild mouse and build our brakes. So let's do 18 miles again, and then 13, and then let's build our block brake here at 9 miles per hour. And then we will build our turnaround, actually a straight piece of track, then our turnaround, and then we will turn back and it connects with this station. Let's build our entrance and exit here. And with that done, Now we have our completed circuit. We can turn on synchronized stations, but we need to get them to synchronize, so we're going to open the tile inspector, and we're going to select the first piece of the station, that front section right there. Select the track and hit the copy button. So you hit copy, and then let's move it over here right next to the first track piece of the other station. And let's hit paste and then rotate it so that they are parallel, and do the same thing with the other station piece here. So make sure you select the right one, and we'll copy it, move over here, and we will paste it and then rotate it so that they are parallel to each other. And now they will synchronize, so we can test it and make sure this is working. Whoops, actually I wanted it to be 2 cars per train, so let's update that. And now I'm going to speed it up just for the sake of this test. So we're getting the first train all the way to the other station, and then they should synchronize once it's ready to leave. And let's see if that works. Okay, so something's wrong, and this can happen. There's a little bit of troubleshooting. It's easy to make mistakes with this, so make sure synchronized stations, continuous circuit block section mode is on. So okay, let's see what's going on here. If we open the tile inspector, I think it's this station track piece right here that is supposed to be synchronizing with the copied one next to it. It's not in the lowest level of the tile inspector order, so that straight piece of track that's below it, if I just raise that up so we make sure that station piece is in the lowest level, that should do the trick. All right, there we go. So now it is working as we wanted it. So just a little bit of troubleshooting. So now that it's working, I'm going to see where the trams meet. So I'm going to pause it right there. So that's where we want to build our open loop. So I'm going to change it to the dinghy slide once again, and we're going to delete this track here. We want to delete the enclosed track. So we're going to delete that, and then let's move forward. And let's actually delete one more, and then we will do an S-bend or whatever you like to make your open loop. So there we have it, and there shouldn't be any other track that's on top of each other, no straight track that's on top of open unenclosed straight track, dinghy track. So you want to make sure it looks like that. And now we can test it just to make sure that it's working. So let's zoom that one forward, and they should leave together. And let's slow it down. And so that works pretty nice. But if you want to update it, if you think they needed a little bit of tweaking, you can always do that. So let's maybe make that S-bend a little bit longer. So I'm going to delete this, delete one more enclosed piece, move forward and do an S-bend here. Just give it a little bit more wiggle room there. And now we can test it again. And I'm going to change it back to the miniature railroad. And now we have our nice tram that should work how I want it. So here we go. But again, you can make any type of layout you want. Just make sure that they pass nicely there. So I think that looks really nice. Now, if you don't mind the trains doing that little tight turn at the end, you could just cover it up with a station and leave it at that. But if you want to add that teleporting kind of thing I showed you at the beginning, we're going to change the ride back to the spinning wild mouse and open the tile inspector and select this straight piece of track right here. So you want to make sure that the lowest level of the tile inspector order is actually that curved, that tight turn. So lower that down. And then here we have the straight piece of track. I'm going to copy it and paste it. And we want to make sure the tight turn is at the bottom, and then the straight track here, not the top one, but it's going to be this middle layer right here, is actually this one. We're going to rotate it 180 degrees so it's facing the other direction. So you want to make sure that's lower than the other straight piece of track, but above the tight turn. Now we're going to do the same thing on the other side. We're going to make sure the turn is at the lowest level, and then copy and paste the straight piece of track and rotate the one that's the lower, so really it's the middle piece. So now if we test it, that should look nicely. It should work out the way we want it to if we did everything correctly. So here you can see, yep, they're both teleporting like we wanted it to. So if I change that to the miniature railroad, here we can see our completed ride. So they pass nice and easy at the open loop, and then they come into the station and do their little teleport into the station track. So that is exactly what I want to have happen. If it doesn't work that way, then you need to review your steps, and then you can make the other synchronized copied station here, make that invisible on both sides, like so, and then just give it a little bit of decoration. And that's not my best job of decorating, but that's basically all there is to it. So it's hopefully simple enough. But there are a few other things you could do if you don't want to do it this way. Like in this example, I'm actually teleporting as it leaves the station rather than when it comes into the station. So it's actually going to be a different method to achieve this, not too different. So let me show you. So here we have our station. We have our block break here. It goes forward into the station. Then we're going to build 2 straight pieces of track, delete the first one, and do our tight turnaround here, turn it back in, and then we're going to change the ride to the dinghy slide again and make sure that it is enclosed, and we will complete the ride like we normally did in the first example. Then we're going to go back to the wild mouse and go back here to this straight piece of track, and we're going to build it backwards. So we need to have that straight piece of track right there, move it forward and delete that track. So we have this here. We're going to open the tile inspector, select that straight piece of track, so it's the top level of the tile inspector, copy it, paste it, and then we basically want to make sure we have the lowest level of straight track, rotate it 180 degrees, and then actually raise the curved piece of track to the highest level. So that's what's different. The curved piece of track needs to be the highest level. Now we're going to complete the circuit by one more straight piece of track there that will connect back in to the dinghy slide track. So now with the ghost trains, you can see if this example worked, and that's how we want it to look. So that's all there is to it. Hope that wasn't too confusing, but here we can see it again. If it doesn't do that, then you did something wrong. And if you do have any questions, please let me know in the comments. And if you enjoyed the video, please give it a like and consider becoming a YouTube or Patreon member where you will receive early access to all of my latest videos and other benefits. And feel free to check out the link in the video description for my RCT2 merch, which is super fun. And as always, make sure to subscribe, because next time I'm going to show you how to upgrade your stalls by copying and pasting them and giving them multiple sides. So stay tuned for more.